This presentation is the second of a two-part series discussing some of the new features in Visual Analysis 18. Our first presentation covered modeling and things you would do from the model view. In this presentation, we're going to look at loads, analysis, design, and reporting. As with the first presentation, this is intended for customers who are familiar with visual analysis and know the basics of the program. So let's start out and talk about some of the loading features that have been added. One feature is if I want to apply a nodal load by selecting it and then apply nodal load, we now have the ability to enter all three directions at one time. So you don't have to enter this process 3 times if your node supports loads in more than one direction. Another feature which you'll find useful is that we now show the factored loads and their values in the result case. In this example, I have both dead loads and live loads as uniform loads on this member. If I now go to a result view, and let's take a look at a combination case, say 1, 2 dead plus 1, 6 live. If you could look at in the background, we're showing the loads as applied to this member, resulting from factoring those service case loads. This will become useful for many of your reporting options, I would imagine. We've done some work in the Load Case Manager building code combinations. For example, we've added the Canadian National Building Code load combinations, as well as we've added deflection checks using strength level wind loads. So the D factor has been, for these, been reduced to 0.6D. Now let's talk about analysis. And for this demonstration, I'm going to go ahead and look at a structure that we've looked at having an instability. And I'm sure many of you have had this problem. It's a fairly complex structure. And when we go to the result view, we're going to see that we get the message, your model is unstable and cannot be analyzed. A new feature in Visual Analysis 18 is we're going to try to help you locate the instability. Many of these are very complicated and can be difficult to be found. We have provided a modal analysis of your structure that can be useful for getting an idea what the instability is. And by default, we're going to show you that mode in the result view when you have an unstable structure. We found that probably the best way to visualize it is to animate this modal view. So I'm going to do that at this time. And then when we do that, we're going to see motion of the structure and displaying the instability. So if we take a look at it, we see that we have a corner of the structure that's torsionally unstable. That tells us that if we want to get a successful analysis, we need to remove that instability, possibly by applying bracing or shear walls or moment frame in this corner of the structure. So that, I think, you'll find is a very useful option in Visual Analysis 18. Let's move on for a second and talk about design. We've done a lot of work in design in bringing VA 18 up to current codes. It's now up to AISC 36016 for steel design, NDS 2018 for wood design, ADM 2015 for the aluminum specification. We've also added new HSS shapes for the material specification ASTM A1065. I'm going to now switch back to our simple beam example that we started off with to demonstrate some of the new features in the results and report. When we take a look at the result view, we now have the ability in the legends to set the data range that's displayed by the sliders directly, so you can have more precise control over what's shown in your legends. In addition, we've added the ability for member results to show the normal stress in 3D. So now, if I look at my member, I can show this normal stress and see how it varies across the entire cross section. So I see it varying vertically as well as horizontally in this member. Another feature we've added is that if I turn on flyby information and select something and have the flyby available, if I hit the S key while it's available, a sticky note's created with that flyby information. So I could move over and put on nodal reactions, spring forces, for example, and anything else I'd like to see on my display. So with flyby on, pressing the S key, you will get sticky notes with the information shown, and this might help in your reporting. Another feature we've added is the ability to add a graphic to our reports directly. In any of the views, we can right mouse and select Add View to Report, and when I do that, we'll see we switch to the report view and the graphic image is already pasted in. Looking at some of the tables that we have a new table which is called a member plan check table. That table will provide all useful information for a member. In this case, its properties, how it's connected, any applied loads that it has, results cases it was analyzed for, the extreme forces and extreme deflections, as well as any design checks performed on that member. So this is a quick way then to provide all information about a member that might be submitted, say, for plan check review. This duplicates a similar feature we had in Visual Analysis 12. Another table we've added is the Member Relative Displacements table. If we take a look at that, by dragging it onto our report, we'll see that we are producing displacements including the length divided by displacement ratio, which is the typical number you end up comparing when doing a code check. Let's clean up this report a little bit and show you a couple more tables that have been created. We've also created a support detailed reactions table as well as a support extreme reactions table. These two tables we think would be useful if you need to supply base reactions to a foundation designer, for example, and they will be based on individual nodes or supports one by one, and then we will provide an extreme set of results and the corresponding other directional results for the detailed reactions, and we'll also provide a table for just the largest values in all directions depending on the format that the foundation designer might be interested in. A final feature that you might find useful is we're going to show the tables that are available, and if possible, if they're not available because of, say, filtering, and I'm going to demonstrate that by saying let's just filter on selected members. Now I don't have any members selected, so when I go back to the table list here, we'll see we have grade values in the table. This is to tell us that we could get these, but they're currently empty, and to check our filters. So that will give you an idea of why you're not seeing tables available for a report.